Hello everybody, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to some MTG Arena card pack opening. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to check the mail. That's announcements. Oop, we got some stuff. We got 1000 XP and a card style for Burnished Heart. Okay. Neat. Alright. That's not what you're here for. This is what you're here for. So, we've got Shadows over Innistrad Remastered on the docket today. So, depending on how fast we go, we might do more than one set. We might do some of March of the Machine, although it'd be more fitting to do March of the Machine with the Aftermath together. So, first and foremost, the goal is to get Shadows over Innistrad Remastered done today. So, let's open our first pack and get right into it. We are going to adjust the volume down, because okay. Now, as always, we will start from the bottom right hand corner and work our way up to the unflipped card. Starting off with Olivia's Dragoon, which is a 2-drop creature, a vampire berserker. Discard a card. Olivia's Dragoon gains flying until end of turn and is a 2/2. So a pretty basic card. Nothing too fancy here. The artwork is, it's there. Anyways, moving on. Thrabin Inspector or Thrabin? Throbbin? No, Throbbin's, that's a little too on the, I'm gonna go with Thrabin. So a Thrabin Inspector is a 1-drop creature, human soldier. When Thrabin Inspector enters the battlefield, investigate. And investigate is create a colorless clue artifact token with pay 2 of any, sacrifice this artifact, draw a card. And it is a 1/2. Okay. I think that the investigate and the clue tokens are an alright mechanic. So far, I've not really seen anything all that impressive from the Innistrad, this version of Innistrad. I can't remember the exact, even though I said it multiple times, I don't remember the exact name of it. Alright, oh, we got a transforming card. Okay, a double, or in the physical card game would be a double-sided card. Lone Rider is a 2-drop creature, human knight, with first strike and lifelink. At the beginning of the end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, transform Lone Rider. So this relies on the health gaining mechanic, which is usually a pretty standard thing for a plains mana based card or deck, or white if you want to be, if you Some people prefer the colors, some people prefer the land names. So, I'm most likely going to use the land names. Or at least try to. I know in the past I usually do color, but I feel like it might be a little more proper to say the land names instead. Anyways, it transforms into it that rides as one, which looks like the Lone Rider has become more morbidly intertwined with its steed and has given it 2 new legs and a separated jaw, and its face has become the lantern. Anyways, it's a creature, Eldrazi Horror. It certainly is. It retains the first strike ability, and then you add trample, and it also retains the lifelink. And it becomes a 4/4 instead of the 1/1 that it was. First strike, this creature deals combat damage before creatures without first strike. Does not apply when creatures fight. Okay. And of course, lifelink is whatever damage your creature deals. The controller gains that much life. And then trample, I believe I explained this in the last one, but it's any access damage that isn't blocked goes straight to the player that's defending the hit. Alright. A pretty neat card. And we got a wild card, uncommon wild card. We got Intrepid Provisioner, which is a 4-drop creature human scout with trample. When Intrepid Provisioner enters the battlefield, another target human you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. And it's a 3/3. Alright. A pretty standard forest mana card, in my opinion. Then we got a common wild card. Then we got Skursdag Cultist, which is a 4-drop creature human shaman, where you pay 1 mountain mana and tap and sacrifice a creature. Skursdag Cultist deals 2 damage to any target. Okay. Not a big fan of the creature sacrificing. Seems more of a swamp card mechanic. One that I have in this series of pack openings have disregarded as my least favorite of mechanics in this game. Just because I don't like sacrificing my health points or my creatures to gain a potential advantage. It's not worth it for me. But I do like the direct damage mechanic. So this is kind of like my least favorite and favorite mechanics of the game meeting in one card. So, anyways, let's find out what the last card is. Burn from Within is a variable drop with at least 1 mountain mana. It is a sorcery. When Burn from Within deals X amount of damage to any target, if a creature is dealt damage this way, it loses indestructible until end of turn. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. Yes, please. I am taking a picture of that so I remember It's like me bookmarking this card. Because that is a really nice sorcery to have. And I will most likely be ordering a full playset of that for my own decks in real life. Yes. Mwahaha. Okay. Anyways, we shall continue. Okay. Shadows over Innistrad Remastered. Shadows over Innistrad Remastered. I will try to remember Shadows over Innistrad Remastered. I already remember that it's an Innistrad and it's remastered, but the Shadows over part. The thing that escapes my brain. Alright. Another Investigate card. Cool. Confront the Unknown is a 1-drop instant. Investigate, then target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each clue you control, which is going to be at least 1 because it spawns 1. So, or it creates 1. Nice. Moving on. Explosive Apparatus is a 1-drop artifact. You pay 3 of any and tap it, and you sacrifice it. It deals 2 damage to any target. Don't usually like the sacrificing mechanic, but in this case it sacrifices it's a bomb. It doesn't linger after it's exploded. So this one makes sense. It's fine when, like, yes, it's a permanent, but it acts more like a sorcery or an instant, where it's like, okay, boom, it's there, and you use it, it's gone. But it's a little more timed, where it's like you can put it on the battlefield, and your opponent can go, oh no, there's a bomb, and then you explode the bomb. But it's fine. Let's see. Fortified Village, it's a land. I don't usually get very many lands from these. As Fortified Village enters the battlefield, you may reveal a forest or plains card from your hand. If you don't, Fortified Village enters the battlefield tapped. And you can tap this to add a forest mana or a plains mana. As always, it's a land. You tap it for mana. Unburial Rites is a 5-drop sorcery. Return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. Flashback. You may cast this card from your graveyard for its flashback cost, and then exile it. And you would need a plains mana for that, and 3 of any other, but okay. See, there is merit to the sacrificing mechanic in the swamp mana playstyle when you have the resurrecting cards, but sometimes they're at the bottom of your library and you're not getting them. So it's too much of a gamble for me. So that's proof that if you play your cards right, like, it can be a net 0 on your end and then a detriment to your opponent. But I don't want to have to rely on that chance. Okay. Moving on. Weirding Wood is a 3-drop enchantment aura. Enchant land. So it's an enchantment for land. When Weirding Woods enters the battlefield, investigate. enchanted land has tap to add 2 mana of any one color. Alright. At first, I honestly thought it was going to be a land because it was obstructed by the flashback description. So, like, as I look over and up to it, I thought, oh, that's going to be another land. When it's a land enchantment or aura. And then we got a common wild card. And then we got Mockery of Nature. It's a 9-drop. Creature, Eldrazi Beast. With Emerge, 8 costs, with one of them being a forest mana. Emerge, you may cast this spell by sacrificing a creature and paying the Emerge cost reduced by that creature's mana value. Okay. So that would be how you get it out sooner than waiting until you have 9 mana to use on it. But yeah. When you cast a spell, you may destroy target artifact or enchantment. That's useful. Not really a big fan of the Emerge mechanic, but for obvious reasons, of course. And then, of course, we shall see what we have for the last card. Oh,
every pebble is a soldier in my army.
Oh. Okay. Nahiri the Harbinger is a 4-drop legendary planeswalker. Nahiri. Okay. It has 4. And if you add 2 counters, you may discard a card. If you do draw a card, you can take 2 away, exile target enchantment, tapped artifact, or tapped creature. And you can take away 8. Search your library for an artifact or creature card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. It gains haste. Return it to your hand at the beginning of your next end step. Okay. Okay. I know I'm not putting a whole lot of input to it. I think it's a very interesting planeswalker. Probably not one that I would ever use, but it's definitely an interesting one. Now, I do have one question about it. It gains, okay, for the -8 ability, or the -8 ability. You search your library for an artifact or creature card, and you put it on the battlefield. So you play an artifact, creature, whatever. And then, of course, you shuffle your library as standard things. When you search your library, you usually have to shuffle it for fairness. It gains haste, so whatever you've got can be go this turn. You return it to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. So it goes back to your hand at the beginning of the next end step, which would most likely be your end step if you're doing it during your turn. If you swing with it and it dies, it goes to the graveyard or it gets exiled, the Planeswalker card still says return it to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. So if it goes from the battlefield to the graveyard or exile, is it still then required to return to your hand at the beginning of the next end step? That's because there's nothing in this that states that, but the ability of it still stands, in my opinion, because like, okay, played a creature, you used its haste, like it's gained haste to swing for damage, it gets blocked or outright killed by something or another. It's then in the graveyard, but by the wording in this ability, you return it to your hand at the beginning of your next end step, or the beginning of the next end step. So the end step comes shortly after your combat phase, and then you return it to your hand. If I'm reading this correctly, that's how that would happen. Depending on whether it's from the battlefield, from the graveyard, or even from exile, the thing says to return it to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. Exactly those words. So regardless of where it goes after it hits the battlefield, I believe it should still return to your hand. Of course, like, that may sound biased, because if you use it, then of course, yeah, you would want that to stand and be like, yeah, it returns to my hand. But at the same time, objectively, that's what it sounds like happens in that scenario. So, something to ponder, something to, if you have like the proper ruling for it, searched up on Google or something like that, you can put it in the comments down below. As always, answers to questions are good, but like, until I am told otherwise, that's how I think that's going to play out. Once again, probably not going to use that card in a actually, being that this is the virtual version of the game, someone who has this, or someone who can get this card, please put it in a deck, use it, ensure that the creature that you get from your library dies, and see what happens at the beginning of the next end step. Because there's a way to test this, because the game's going to do what it's supposed to do. So if it doesn't return to your hand, then that's not what, like, the ability doesn't stand when upon death or exile of said creature. But if it does, then I'm right. But like I said, I don't really have a deck to use it with, and I'm not probably going to put it in a deck. But if someone would please do that, test that, and report back to me, or just Google it and find out, and get back to me and put it in the comments, that would be appreciated. But yeah, that just came in my head. It's like, we could test that. That can be tested. Anyway, third pack. Alright. Starting off with Selhoff Occultist. A 3-drop creature human rogue. When Selhoff Occultist or another creature dies, target player mills a card. Well, I like that. And it's a 2/3. I like that one. Because if you got some like weak cards out and you play this on top of that, be like, okay, don't swing with this one, don't let this one be a target, but just swing with like 5 1/1s and let them all die and be like, you gotta mill okay, whenever it or another creature dies. So like anytime it dies. So that would be like, if you have 5 1/1s and you swing and they all die, then you make the other person mill 5 cards. I like that. I like that. Alright. Certain Death is a 6-drop sorcery. Destroy target creature. Alright. Its controller loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. See, that's a swamp card that I can get behind. That one. Alright. I'm going to take a picture of that one. I'm being smart, and I'm taking pictures of cards that I want to come back to. I didn't take a picture of the Planeswalker. Well, that's because... Okay, I was taking pictures of the cards that I want to invest in getting physical copies for a deck. Yeah, alright. Alms of the Vein is a 3-drop sorcery. Target opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. Madness. 1 swamp mana. Madness. If you discard this card, discard it into exile. When you do, cast it for its madness cost, or put it into your graveyard. Okay. Once again, saving that. Alright. Moving on. Soul Separator. Oh my. It's a 3-drop artifact. Pay 5 of any. Tap. Sacrifice Soul Separator. Exile target creature card from your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's 1/1, is a spirit in addition to its other types, and it has flying. Create a black or swamp zombie creature token. Okay, I'm just going to use the colors when it literally says it to distinguish. Whatever. Create a black zombie creature token with power equal to that card's power and toughness equal to that card's toughness. Even though it shows a 2/2 zombie creature token. Okay. But yeah, it basically, as it would imply, makes one being and splits into body and spirit. So now you have 2 creatures where the body still retains the power and toughness, and then you have, in addition to that, a 1/1 spirit version of that same creature. Not sure exactly how you'd want to play that, but it's an option. You need you need at least 5 to do it. 8 if you want to do it that same turn. But yeah, I don't know. Wolfkin Bond is a 5-drop enchantment aura. Enchant creature. When Wolfkin Bond enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2. Okay. That's a little bit of teamwork going on, which, you know, the forest or green color is known for. We're going to move on, though. Faithbearer Paladin is a 5-drop creature human knight with lifelink, and it's a 3/4. Alright. Pretty standard plains or white card. Okay, moving on to Compelling Deterrence. I mean, that is a compelling deterrence. It is a 2-drop instant. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. That player discards a card if you control a zombie. Okay. And then Epiphany at the Drown Yard. It is a variable drop. It is an instant. Reveal the top X plus 1 cards of your library and separate them into 2 piles. So essentially, okay, I'm going to stop right there because it's interesting, because the amount of mana you pay in total is the amount of cards you reveal for this. And I find it interesting because instead of just having it be X and having just X as the mana cost, it ensures that you have to use at least 1 island or blue mana to play this card. But the end result is still the same. So like they could have gone away with the island mana cost and just had X and then reveal the top X number of cards. But instead they wanted to require that at least 1 mana is an island for this card. I don't know why they went with this choice. It doesn't really change anything, but I do think it's fine. It's interesting. It's like, okay, X plus 1 blue or island mana. Reveal the top X plus 1 cards of your library. I don't know why. I just think that's interesting. Okay, that might be like, okay, you're making something out of nothing. I just think it's an interesting way of doing that. Anyways, you separate them into 2 piles. An opponent chooses one of those piles, put that pile into your hand and the other into your graveyard. Okay, involving your opponent with this. Okay. Not something that I would probably do, but it is an interesting card for the reason that I explained. Yeah. We are just about 33 minutes into the stream, and we have already completed the entire Shadows over Innistrad Remastered bunch. So, that means we have time for March of the Machine, or we might want to save these to go together. So we can probably skip ahead, save those for later, and then get to the one I'm really interested in taking a look at. So we will save March of the Machine and the Aftermath for a separate stream the next time we do this, basically. And we will skip ahead for now to the Lord of the Rings Tales of the Middle-earth set and the 3 packs that we have of that. That way those two can be their own thing together, because they are, both March of the Machine, technically. And then this is like, yeah. They go together, so I'm going to try to keep them together in the same stream, while also trying to keep these streams at about an hour. So we'll just do Lord of the Rings instead. That, and I've been wanting to do the Lord of the Rings packs since we started doing these. So we're finally here at the Lord of the Rings. Brandywine Farmer is a 3-drop creature halfling peasant. When Brandywine Farmer enters enters or leaves the battlefield, create a food token. Well, halflings do love their food. And the food Also, Brandywine Farmer is a 1/1, so not impressive. But the food token artifact, food, you pay 2 of any, tap it, sacrifice this artifact, you gain 3 life. So that's an interesting, yet very welcome mechanic. It's basically just, take the food, tap, eat the food, gain 3 life. I don't know if that's ever been a thing in Magic before, but I'm surprised it hadn't been if it wasn't. If this is a new thing for this expansion and they never thought of like food, I know there's like healing potions or whatever ones before, but if they never done it with food, specifically food or a type of food before, I'd be very surprised. I'm not aware of it, but I could just be, ignorant of any previous food token cards that would do something like this. So, and of course, you sacrifice the artifact, which, in other situations, I would not like sacrificing things, but just like the bomb, once you're done with the food, food's gone. So, when you're done with the bomb, bomb's bloated up, exploded, it's gone. You ate the food, food's gone. So, completely immune to my distaste of normal sacrificing stuff. So. Anyways, moving on, Grey Haven's Navigator is a 3-drop creature elf pilot. Has flash. So, but for anyone that doesn't know, and yes, it is on screen, flash is you can cast it just like you would an instant, literally at no matter whose turn it is, basically. When Grey Haven's Navigator enters the battlefield, you scry 1. I'm not explaining scrying. It is a 3/2 Willow Wind. Is a 5-drop creature elemental with flying. When Willow Wind enters the battlefield, you scry 2. So we've got to scry 1, and we got to scry 2. 1 with flash, 1 with flying. So these are almost the same kind of card. They do about the same thing. They serve about the same purpose. One costs more than the other, and more cost has a little more toughness. So, and one more card that you scry. So, it's basically like this is the lower tier version of this. Ignoring the fact that one's an elf and one's an elemental, like that. Mechanically, like it's just like a tier up. So, and having both in your deck might be advantageous if you're one that likes scrying. So, I'm impartial to it. I've had many decks that had plenty of cards that dealt with scrying. So, I can take it or leave it. It's really not all that important to me. But the Willow Wind is a 3/4 as well. I forgot to mention that before. I mean, I touched on it when I was comparing, but did not right say it. Anyways, let's move on to everyone's favorite little creepy creature of Lord of the Rings. Gollum, or Smeagol, as he would also be known. The Patient Plotter is a 2-drop legendary creature, a halfling horror. Yeah, I could say that's an accurate description. When Gollum the Patient Plotter leaves the battlefield, the ring tempts you. Pay 1 swamp, sacrifice a creature, return Gollum from the graveyard to your hand. Activate only as a sorcery. And I'm guessing similar to the dungeon cards, the ring is just an ever-present map kind of card. Which we might as well go through now because we've got 2 more packs and we've probably got several other cards even probably within this pack and the other two packs that will refer to this, the One Ring or the Ring card. So, the ring tempts you. As the ring tempts you, you get an emblem named the ring. If you don't have one, then your emblem gains its next... Oh. Okay, you gain the emblem named the ring if you don't have one. Then your emblem gains its next ability, and you choose a creature you control to become or remain your ring bearer. Okay. And interesting. Okay. Okay. Then we get to the actual card itself, or emblem, as they call it. Which I guess you could refer to the dungeons from the D&D expansion one. I didn't explain. I just referred to it out of nowhere. During the D&D expansions, there were like several like course of like pick your adventure kind of thing with abilities and stuff or actions that are taken as dungeons. There was 3 or 4 of them. I can't remember. I think it started off with 3, and then I think they added another one by the end. Either way, it was basically a reference card of sorts where you literally just have them either in your deck box or on the side of the table or whatever in the physical card game. And it's just there, and like if one of the cards say venture into the dungeon, you either start down one of them, you pick one of them, you start down one of them, and then you advance down with each and every card that say venture into the dungeon. This is a similar mechanic with the ring, and now I will finally get to reading the actual emblem / card. The ring. Your ring bearer is legendary and can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. Whenever your ring bearer attacks, draw a card and then discard a card. Whenever your ring bearer becomes blocked by a creature, that creature's controller sacrifices it at the end of combat. Whenever your ring bearer deals combat damage to a player, each opponent loses 3 life. So that's a wombo right there, especially if you're doing one-on-one. You deal the combat damage to the player and then 3 more. So it's like, boom, here's 6 damage. For instance, if I had it in the same deck as my Inescapable Blaze. No, because then it would be Ring Bearer. Not, okay, so, I was trying to find a way of like guaranteeing damage. Let's just say you have a 6/6 creature on the field. It's your ring bearer. They don't have anything on the battlefield right now. You swing for 6. You hit the 6. Boom, 3 more. It's a 9 in total. They lost 9 total that turn. So. And if it's a 1v1, that's you started off with 20. So if they hadn't gained any, that's about half their life force just gone right out of the gate. I mean, and this is I mean, I was gonna go on a small tangent, but it didn't correlate with this, so I'm just gonna let that be. But yeah, okay. We're gonna move on to Battle Scarred Goblin, which is a 2-drop creature goblin warrior. Whenever Battle Scarred Goblin becomes blocked, it deals 1 damage to each creature blocking it. And it's a 2/2. They had for anyone that's played the tutorial of this of MTG Arena, this specific version of Magic the Gathering, they had like a goblin creature set up very similar to List 1, except for I believe it was a 1/1 where it deals like a damage to anything that blocks it. So like if you are swinging with it and of course it's a 1/1 and then it's blocked by a 1/2 instead of the blocking creature living, it would deal that extra damage, and they both get taken out. So this is a little bit nicer because it's a 2/2, unless the one that I'm thinking about was also a 2/2. But regardless, it's very nice to see something like that. Mirkwood Spider is a 1-drop creature spider. Not a fan of spiders. Has Death Touch, because why wouldn't it? Whenever Mirkwood Spider attacks, target legendary creature you control gains Death Touch until end of turn. 1/1. So pretty useful. Won't catch me using it. I don't even want to look at it anymore. Gothmog, Morgul Lieutenant, is a 4-drop legendary creature human soldier. When Gothmog, Morgul Lieutenant, enters the battlefield, amass Orcs 1. Creature tokens you control have Death Touch. So amass Orcs 1 is put a +1/+1 counter on an army you control. Okay. It's also an orc. Alright. If you don't control any army, create a 0/0 black orc army creature token first. Alright. And then of course Death Touch is a very well known thing. And I believe I've also for posterity. Okay, I can't think I think it's posterity. For posterity's sake, I did explain it at least once in these streams. So that, and it's also on screen. So I'm not getting into it. And it's a 3/3 if I didn't say it already. Last card of the pack. Elven Chorus is a 4-drop enchantment. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library. Creatures you control have tap to add 1 mana of any color. This is a very, very interesting card. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. Anytime. That's nuts. And you may also cast creature spells from the top of your library. For someone who ends up, like, in a lot of games not having a hand anymore, so like I run through my cards and they end up on the battlefield pretty quickly. Ooh, I hit the mic. That's actually really cool. I don't usually use forest/green cards in a deck, but that is a very tempting one at the very least. I am actually going to save that one. That is something that I know pretty much any of us would be a very interested person for. Okay. Before we get on to the second pack, I'm going to open my drink. I did that under the desk, and that still peaked the mic. I apologize. Alright. Second pack. Or the 5th one of the stream. Starting with Generous Ent is a 6-drop creature tree folk, or, you know, an Ent. With reach. When Generous Ent enters the battlefield, that almost tripped me up. Create a food token. Forest Cycling 1. So, ooh, a different artwork for the food token. this time around. Not bad, not bad. Both had food that I'd very much like to take part in. Except for the apple cores. You can leave those out. Just notice them. But yeah, that actually looks like a nice spread of food. I like food. Don't judge me. Anyways, forest cycling 1. Pay 1. Discard a card. Search your library for a forest card. Reveal it. Put it into your hand. And then shuffle. And of course, reach can block creatures that have fly. So. And that's because they a tall some bit. Because they're, tree bow. Anyways. Oh, it's also a 5/7. I completely glossed. I almost always completely gloss over the power and toughness of a lot of creatures. But yeah, it's a 5/7. Moving on. Pippin's Bravery is a 1-drop. It's an instant. You may sacrifice a food. Unspeakable. How dare you? Anyways, if you do, target creature gets +4/+4 until end of turn. Otherwise, that creature gets +2/+2 until the end of turn. Oh, you may sacrifice a food. So like you may commit a travesty. Okay. Commonwealth card. Then the long list of the Ents. It's a 1-drop Saga enchantment. Okay. The first is note a creature type that hasn't been noted for long list of the Ents. Oh, so it's not tied to the actual numbers. It's just the whole description. Okay. Note a creature type that hasn't been noted for long list of the Ents. When you cast your next creature spell of that type this turn, that creature enters the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on it. Okay. Okay. As this saga enters and after you draw step, add a lore counter sacrifice after 6. Okay. Alright, I've never been one for those kind of cards, so I'm not gonna dwell too much on it. Pelargear Survivor. It's a 2-drop creature, human peasant. Tap, add 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast an instant or sorcery. You may pay 5 of any and 1 island or blue. And tap. Target creature mills 3 cards. And I talked about milling earlier. I don't think I've explained it in any of the prior streams. And it has been on screen. But just for posterity's sake. It's like 2 mill a card, a player puts the top card of their library into the graveyard. Basically, like, they get no chance to play it, they get no chance to see it, other than if you have your graveyard face up, then they get to see it. But other than that, you just, hope is lost unless they have a resurrection card that would bring something from the graveyard. But pretty much, you bring that person closer and closer to the end of their library. It's kind of just like a middle finger kind of play, and it's one of my favorites besides direct damage or burn, as it's mostly referred to. But those are my top 2. Other than just countering target spells, That's always fun to do. They're like, I'm gonna play. No, you're not. But yeah, this is a 1-3, by the way. I know I didn't say that before. Anyways, moving on to Ent's Fury. Oh, that's a thing. It's a 2-drop sorcery. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control if its power is 4 or greater. Then that creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn and fights target creature you don't control. Right. Then we move to... Oh wait, is it... No, okay, it's a sorcery. Okay. Glorfindel Dauntless Rescuer is a 3-drop legendary creature, an elf noble. When you scry, choose one and Glorfindel Dauntless Rescuer gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Glorfindel must be blocked this turn if able, or Glorfindel can't be blocked by more than one creature each combat this turn. And it's a 3/2. Interesting choice. Either way, not bad, not bad. Okay. Shadow of the Enemy is a 6-drop sorcery. Exile all creature cards from target player's graveyard. You may cast spells from among those cards for as long as they remain exiled, and mana of any type. And mana of any type can be spent to cast them. Okay. That's actually an interesting one. I'm going to take a picture, save it for later. Alright. Last one of the stream, third one of the Lord of the Rings packs. Okay. Relentless Rohirrim. I don't know. We'll go with Rohirrim. It is a 4-drop creature, human knight. When Relentless Rohirrim enters the battlefield, the ring tempts you, and it is a 4/3. Now that I've mentioned it, we didn't really have any other cards in the first pack or any in the second pack that actually refer to the ring, and I thought I was going to have a little bit more of a present. Anyways, moving on. Herdrim Spearmaster is a 3-drop creature human warrior with reach. At the beginning of combat on your turn, another target creature you control gets +1/+0 until end of turn. And it's a 2/3. Alright, pretty standard. Alright. Quarrel's End is a 3-drop sorcery. As an additional cost to cast the spell, discard a card. Not a fan. Draw 2 cards, then create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. Okay. It all depends on whether the card discarded was less than that or not. And we got uncommon wild card. Slip on the Ring is a 2-drop instance. Wouldn't expect a plains mana card to be like referring to the ring itself. But regardless, exile target creature you own, and then return it to the battlefield under your control. The ring tempts you. Okay, I get that, like, slip on the ring, you disappear, whatever, but, like, the way that it's worded is weird. You exile a target creature you own. Okay. Then you return to the battlefield under your control. that seems like something specifically you would play when one of your creatures is getting targeted or, is going to die. Which, makes sense because that's when you would slip on the One Ring, is if you were in danger and needed to get out of there. But it's just okay. Odd. I don't know how else you would do that, but I find the wording weird. Okay. Gimli's Fury. Oh, I can already tell I'm gonna like this one. I like Gimli. He's a fun character in Lord of the Rings. It's a 2-drop instant. Target creature gets +3/+2 until end of turn. If it's legendary, it also gains trample until end of turn. Well, then you're very much incentivized to only use it on legendary creatures. But if you don't got one out, then I guess you can settle. Either way, fun card. Like to see Gimli mashing people up. Theoden, King of Rohan. 3-drop. Legendary creature, human noble. When Theoden, King of Rohan, or another human enters the battlefield under your control, target creature gains double strike until end of turn. And it is a 2/3. Not bad, not bad. If that nice of a card is the second to last one, I wonder what this last one of the stream, last one of the third pack. Here we go. Last one for the Lord of the Rings. Shagrat, Loot Bearer, is a 4-drop legendary creature, Orc Soldier. Whenever Shagrat, Loot Bearer, attacks, attach up to 1 target equipment to it. Then amass Orcs X, where X is the number of equipment attached to Shagrat. Okay. Not bad, not bad. I do kind of like the Orc Army mechanic. It's pretty neat. It's a 4/4, if I hadn't already stated that. Yeah. That's a pretty cool card to end on. Yeah. So, that's going to do it for this stream. We looked at the Shadows over Innistrad Remastered, 3 packs of those, and then we looked into the Lord of the Rings crossover packs, 3 of those. Next time we'll be doing the March of the Machine, and most likely the March of the Machine Aftermath in tandem, as long as they pace about the same as today's did, with no extra elongated spans of reading or going on a tangent about a certain card for 20 minutes. Normal stuff. Anyways, like I said, that's going to do it for this one. So if you enjoyed this, please leave a like. And if you're new and haven't done so already, consider subscribing. It is free. What is not free is membership, which is something you can also consider. It is only $1 a month, so it's not that costly. It's just $1 every month. Helps support the channel, because I'm not here to have a paywall for anything. I don't really have any plans for paywalling daily regular content. Might do specialties every now and again that might be member only access, or might a little add-on extra videos or whatever. Could be, but overall regular content, not paywalled. If you'd like to, $1 a month for membership gets you access to extra stuff and a shout out as well. So down in the description there are some links that you should definitely check out. Some of them are Twitch links to my friends' Twitch channels, and some of them are my social media, and they are separated and labeled accordingly. So make sure to check all that out. And with